Hi, welcome to Far From Eden. It is Sunday the 14th of July, 2024. It is the day to read fairy tale, and today we're going to read Rapunzel. It is not in my book that it was published. The Grimm Brothers fairy tales was the book I have was published in the 20th century, which I at first was like, "Ooh, it's so old. It'll be so based." And some of them are, but I quickly found out from you all that there are several that are not included, which made me suspicious. So I go to the internet where some of those stories that are not in my book are still there. I don't know how long they'll keep letting us see the old things in their original form on the internet. I've read 1984, and I know that they like to change history. So, anyway, you might have noticed I'm a little flustered. I think we're all a bit flustered because of yesterday, because of what happened. And last night we had the premiere. I usually do a premiere. I try to do a premiere Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I had our premiere last night at 9 o'clock. Just discussing sort of the normal things that we discuss on this channel. And of course, I recorded that before the attempt on Donald Trump's life was made. So at the timing of the recording, it hadn't happened yet. And then, of course, in our chat last night, it came up. I didn't respond to it in the chat because I couldn't figure out how to condense my thoughts into that short of a space. I still can't condense my thoughts. I don't know that I can think clearly. I was raised by parents who taught me about JFK and taught me what I consider to be the real story. You know, 3-letter organizations who don't like what the person they've installed is doing, well, they're gonna do something about it. And so immediately I was getting those sort of not memories, because they're not my memories, but they are my parents' memories of where they were, in November 1963. I tried to sort of squash that because I was like, I just want to take in all the facts before I start saying, oh my God, that's what this is. But the more facts I take in, the more that's what I see. So it does rattle. It does rattle you. I love talking politics, and I love following politics. I have since I was about 10 years old. I know that's a little weird, but I'm a little weird. And it fascinates me. And since being awakened to more of what it really is, which in my opinion is just a performance of puppets who've been installed. In a way, it's more fascinating for that reason. So I haven't really processed all what this is and what it means and all of that. But I wasn't going to not talk about it. How can I can't just go, okay, it's a normal Sunday. Let's read a fairy tale. I think that's very strange. This morning, I just want to tell you guys one more thing that I thought was interesting. So you guys who follow the channel regularly know that I don't go to church anymore because they're all nonprofits and they all are infected with feminism. And so I can't take it seriously. They're too tied in with the government because they don't want to lose their tax exempt status. But this morning, what did I do? I went, to YouTube, and I went to my old church when I was growing up. I actually was baptized there. It was more of like a boop, so not real baptism, but that place has some, I don't have a lot of roots, but that was sort of calling to me this morning. I wanted to hear, it's a Methodist church. I wanted to hear the hymns. I wanted them to say something. You know what I mean? Like, what's your reaction going to be? I live in a red state, in a red county, red town, red county, red state. I thought, okay, let's say something. They got rid of their female pastor, and now they have an interim pastor, and that's a female. I still went to that church. I think I was drawn to something familiar. I wanted some kind of truth and comfort, and I was curious. I admit, I was curious. What are they going to say? They said nothing. Nothing. And I could hear in the church, because they couldn't see who was in the pews, I could hear that there were way more people. Because, after 2020, church attendance are down. People stayed home, and then they just kept staying home. Like, wow, I can just watch online or not. And I've noticed that about this church. But there were people in the pews this morning, and we know why. Same reason I'm sorry, I'm emotional. Same reason I clicked on online to say, what, is there anything? No, I'm so disappointed in that church. And it's like, it's even if, it doesn't matter what side, it's a human. It's the leading candidate for one of our major political parties. He has like a lot of support, and you're not going to say anything. So I feel still rattled. It's going to be okay. Obviously, it's unsettling. I didn't expect it, because I'd been wondering, is Trump, is he placed there? Is he just one of the other? He's like all the others, but he's playing a role. And then seeing what I saw, I'm like, well, if he was playing a role, I think he's maybe started doing things they don't want. Like JFK, talking about ending the Federal Reserve, talking about getting out of Vietnam, and probably some other things that I'm not even aware of off the top of my head. Anyway. Oh, that was a long intro. But I'm not going to, I feel like I've had this channel for a little bit, and especially as of late, I've talked to a lot of you in the comments, in the chat, when we do the live premiere, and the live chat with the premiere, and with your emails. So it just feels like I do feel a connection to you guys, and I feel like I know you in a way. So anyway, felt natural to say something. Definitely, thank goodness that I know that this world is not all there is, and that one day we will understand. So, the Grimm Brothers. On Sundays, we focus on what is true, what is good, and what is beautiful. And a lot of the times, the Grimm Brothers deliver, because they were traveling through Europe, collecting the folklore and the stories that made that culture. And I personally like that culture. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It doesn't mean I dislike other cultures to say that. I know that you guys have requested this one. So, and obviously Rapunzel is a story we all think we know. I think I know it, but I have a feeling I don't. And I'm curious to know, what in this story did the Grimm brothers think we needed to remember, and teach our children so that they would grow up with those values and with the truth. And so far with our fairy tales, we have, learned that being good and pious is super important. Especially talking about the ladies. That's been a big theme. So let's see. Oh, and all the witches and stepmothers who are witches. Hansel and Gretel. Twist. Sorry to be a spoiler, but dang. So, Rapunzel, guys. I'm gonna try my best today. I really am. I'm frazzled, but I'm glad to be here with you guys. This feeds my soul, and we need to feed our souls extra today and protect our peace as much as we can. And for me personally, recentering and reconnecting with what we know is true, good, and beautiful is a way to do that. It's a big reason why Bjorn, the man I reacted to his video yesterday, he goes out to his local woods. Beautiful. He puts on the kettle. He taps some sap out of the tree. Rapunzel. There once lived a man and his wife who had long wished for a child, but in vain. Now there was at the back of their house a little window which overlooked a beautiful garden full of the finest vegetables and flowers, but there was a high wall around it, and no one ventured into it, for it belonged to a witch of great might, and of whom all the world was afraid. One day, that the wife was standing at the window and looking into the garden, she saw a bed filled with the finest rampion. I don't know what that is. You guys are probably going to tell me. You're so good with words and etymology. Is that the word? With the finest rampion, and it looked so fresh and green that she began to wish for some. And at length, she longed for it greatly. This went on for days, and as she knew she could not get the rampion, she pined away and grew pale and miserable. Then the man was uneasy and asked, "What is the matter, dear wife?" This is a problem, a theme throughout history, including the Garden of Eden, where the woman is desiring something that she can't have, shouldn't have, etc. This woman is looking out the window and pining away, and that's making her miserable. Do you know what the window is now? Cell phone, right? Look, there's little Lola. Oh, you can't see it. There she is. Yeah, this is the window, and we're coveting, and we're seeing celebrities or whatever, like celebrities that are famous for being famous, on a trip or in Dubai, or I guess that is a trip, Bora Bora, luxury, and they see that and they covet, and it makes them miserable. That is a huge theme. So she's looking out the window, pining for this rampion, and it's making her miserable, and she's like, she's not looking so good. She's pale. So the man notices. "Oh," answered she. Oh, he said, the man was uneasy and asked, "What is the matter, dear wife?" "Oh," answered she, "I shall die unless I can have some of that rampion to eat that grows in the garden at the back of our house." The man, who loved her very much, thought to himself, rather than lose my wife, I will get some rampion, cost what it will. So in the twilight, he climbed over the wall into the witch's garden, plucked hastily a handful of rampion, and brought it to his wife. He is simping. This is not helpful to your wife, to you, to anything. Say no. You can't have it. We've already had 2 lessons in this story. The wife is coveting, and the husband gives in instead of losing his wife. No, you've already lost her once she's doing that. Do you think that's going to satisfy her? No. That kind of coveting and desiring something like that, you get it, the woman gets it, it's just going to happen again. It's never going to be enough. What you need to do is say no. But I understand that if you do that nowadays, you're abusive. You can't say that. Wow. So he got the rampion. She made a salad of it at once and ate of it to her heart's content. But she liked it so much, and it tasted so good, that the next day she longed for it thrice as much as she had done before. If she was to have any rest, the man must climb over the wall once more. So he went in the twilight again, and as he was climbing back, he saw all at once the witch standing before him, and was terribly frightened as she cried with angry eyes, how dare you climb into my garden like a thief and steal my rampion? It shall be worse for you. He's got his wife over here desiring this rampion. I don't know why he thought going over once was gonna do it. And then he's risking his life going and getting more of it. Everybody in the whole kingdom's afraid of this witch, right? But he's still risking it. She catches him. Which was bound to happen. I mean, she's a witch. She's gonna find out. Oh, answered he, be merciful rather than just. I have only done it through necessity, for my wife saw your rampion out of the window and became possessed with so great a longing that she would have died if she could not have some to eat. Then the witch said, if it is all as you say, you may have as much rampion as you like, on one condition. The child that will come into the world must be given to me. It shall go well with the child, and I will care for it like a mother. In his distress of mind, the man promised everything. And when the time came, when the child was born, the witch appeared, and giving the child the name of Rapunzel, which is the same as rampion, she took it away with her. Did he tell his wife of this? What was her reaction? Was she like, awesome? They were waiting for a child for a really long time. That's a big deal back then. Children, nowadays, we do not value children. We do not value having children. We do not value it at all. Children nowadays are a nuisance and an inconvenience in this culture, in leftism, right? That's what they're trying to push. Being a mother is like oppression and secondary and not a real job and all the rest of it. You put your, can you imagine having your kid and you take your newborn, a couple weeks later or a couple days later in daycare with strangers? This is insane. And then we get old and we go to like nursing homes or have like people come to our homes and take care of us. That's not how it used to be. It used to be that the children took care of the parents. It was the circle of life. It was a beautiful thing. It wasn't a burden. It was a cycle. They took care of us when we were young, we get older, and we take care of them. And there's a lot of children, there's supposed to be a lot of children, so that's not a horrible, not horrible, but that's not like an overwhelming thing. I think I even talked about this on yesterday's video or the day before, one of the days. I've talked about this before. Having multiple children and not being able to have a child was a horrible thing. Women would lament that, like, this is who I am. I'm supposed to bring forth life, and I can't do that. That was a tragedy back then. It wasn't looked at as some kind of freedom or liberation, right? So they were waiting for a child. And then because this woman wanted this rampion, I don't even know what it is, but still, like, I've had good salads before. There's no salad. Like, she thought she was going to die. Well, then that speaks to her character. Do you really want to continue with this, sir? You needed to nip this in the bud, not go and feed it. That's what he did. He literally fed her lack of character, the wife, to the point where he's giving this child, this first child, like, okay. Rapunzel was the most beautiful child in the world. When she was 12 years old, the witch shut her up in a tower in the midst of a wood. And it had neither steps nor door, only a small window above. When the witch wished to be let in, she would stand below and would cry, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Rapunzel had beautiful long hair that shone like gold. When she heard the voice of the witch, she would undo the fastening of the upper window, unbind oh my gosh, I know this word because it's braiding. It's a braid. Plats of her hair. Braids. And let it down 20 ells below, and the witch would climb up by it. After they had lived thus a few years, it happened that as the king's son was riding through the wood, he came to the tower, and as he drew near, he heard a voice singing so sweetly that he stood still and listened. It was Rapunzel in her loneliness, trying to pass away the time with sweet songs. The king's son wished to go in to her and sought to find a door in the tower, but there was none. So he rode home, but the song had entered into his heart, and every day he went into the wood and listened to it. Once, as he was standing there under a tree, he saw the witch come up and listened while she cried out, "Oh, Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." When he saw how Rapunzel let down her long tresses and how the witch climbed up by it, he went in to her, and he said to himself, "Since that is the ladder, I will climb it and seek my fortune." I love this. I know we're reading it for other reasons, but I'm really enjoying this fairy tale. What I'm enjoying specifically right now is the man is going through the woods, right? As far as I can tell, he hasn't seen her yet. He's heard her voice. I've learned that men decide real quick what category the woman goes in. And it's amazing what you guys can discern just from small cues. It's really amazing. We women don't do that. That's why dating sites for women make no sense, because we can't pick up on stuff like that. We really need to see like the person and talking and who they are and stuff like that. But men, they take these cues and they're like, I understand what she's all about. He heard something in her voice and he kind of knew this one is sweet. This is a beautiful sound. Like, he could get a sense of who she was based on that. Well, plus he found out she has long hair. Maybe he saw her up there. Sorry. I make these videos as if they're live, no edits or anything like that, because I want it to be just organic. So if I'm weird or whatever, it just goes in. Okay. Okay. So he's going to seek his fortune, and she's his fortune. That's what made me kind of like blush. And the next day, as soon as it began to grow dusk, he went to the tower and cried, "Oh, Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Did she not notice it was a man's voice? Anyway. And she let down her hair, and the king's son climbed up by it. Rapunzel was greatly terrified when she saw that a man had come in to her, for she had never seen one before. But the king's son began speaking so kindly to her and told how her singing had entered into his heart, so that he could have no peace until he had seen her herself. Then Rapunzel forgot her terror, and when he asked her to take him for her husband, and she saw that he was young and beautiful, she thought to herself, "I certainly like him much better than old Mother Gothel." And she put her hand into his hand. Well, that was quick, wasn't it? She said, "I would willingly go with thee, but I do not know how I shall get out. When thou comest, bring each time a silken rope, and I will make a ladder. And when it is quite ready, I will get down by it, out of the tower, and thou shalt take me away on thy horse." They agreed that he should come to her every evening as the old woman came in the daytime. It's so romantic. So the witch knew nothing of all this until once Rapunzel said to her unwittingly, "Mother Gothel, how is it that you climb up here so slowly? And the king's son is with me in a moment." Girl, what do you do? She's so innocent. She's just so innocent. She's not a liar. It's not gonna be easy for her to be deceptive. Oh, Lord. "Oh, wicked child," cried the witch, "what is this I hear? I thought I had hidden thee from all the world, and thou hast betrayed me." In her anger, she seized Rapunzel by her beautiful hair, struck her several times with her left hand, and then grasping a pair of shears in her right, snip, snap, the beautiful locks lay on the ground. And she was so hard-hearted that she took Rapunzel and put her in a waste and desert place where she lived in great woe and misery. What? This is new. This was not in Tangled, the Disney version of Rapunzel. I think Disney made it. Who the heck knows? It's all the same. Okay, so the witch cuts her hair off and takes Rapunzel and puts her in a waste and desert place where she lived in great woe and misery. Yeah, I would too if I was in the desert. The same day on which she took Rapunzel away, she went back to the tower in the evening and made fast the severed locks of hair to the window hasp, and the king's son came and cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." And she let the hair down, and the king's son climbed up. But instead of his dearest Rapunzel, he found the witch looking at him with wicked, glittering eyes. "Aha!" cried she, mocking him. "You came for your darling, but the sweet bird sits no longer in the nest and sings no more. The cat has got her and will scratch out your eyes as well. Rapunzel is lost to you. You will see her no more." She, took Rapunzel in exchange for her Rampion, not because she loves her, right? She possesses her. It's like something she owns, and she doesn't want her to go out and have a life of her own. She wants to, be her whole world. I've seen this. I've seen this with modern day mothers. The same type of thing where they almost segregate their children from the world in a way, possess them, live vicariously through them, but control them, not preparing them for the actual world. You see so many people in arrested development. They're not prepared to go to the outside world. You need fathering for that. Mothering doesn't do that. Mothering is for the nest. In this case, the tower. The king's son was beside himself with grief, and in his agony he sprang from the tower. He escaped with life. But the thorns on which he fell put out his eyes. Then he wandered blind through the wood, eating nothing but roots and berries, and doing nothing but lament and weep for the loss of his dearest wife. So he wandered several years in misery, until at last he came to the desert place where Rapunzel lived with her twin children. With her twin children that she had borne, a boy and a girl. At first he heard a voice that he thought he knew, and when he reached the place from which it seemed to come, Rapunzel knew him. Oh, because he's blind. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I gotta start that sentence over. At first he heard a voice that he thought he knew, and when he reached the place from which it seemed to come, Rapunzel knew him, and fell on his neck and wept. And when her tears touched his eyes, they became clear again, and he could see with them as well as ever. Then he took her to his kingdom, where he was received with great joy, and there they lived long and happily. This is my favorite one so far. Not just because it was happily ever after. We've had some that were kind of like that. Except one was the boy was actually in the stew. That's a whole other thing. What is that one? Oh, the juniper tree, the almond tree. Oh my gosh. He was blinded by the thorns, and he just wandered forever looking for his love. And she had borne his children in the desert alone. That's hard. And she was so happy to see him. She was crying, and her tears healed his eyes. That is beautiful. That is beautiful. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful love story. Her parents are crap. Her parents, her dad is a total simp and just wanted to please the woman. And that's just not what you do. That does not work. Do not go around trying to make the woman happy. It won't work. You know, Rapunzel could actually love. You know why? Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm sorry. Because she had known hardship. She had known solitude. She was not overindulged. She was underindulged, right? Compared to her mother, her real mother, who was like, I want that or I'll die. Rapunzel wasn't like that at all. When a little girl grows up and she's not spoiled, she's not given everything she wants, she appreciates things. She appreciated that man. Don't you think when they got to the kingdom, she appreciated him and she appreciated their life? A woman like that, who has known deprivation, who has known pain, is way more likely to appreciate a man, appreciate what he does for her, and try her best to deserve it. Try her very best to deserve it by serving him, by doing a good job raising their children. That's how she can work for him, you know, work for their family. Not soft life. Not that. Not the traditional, I'm just going to lay around safe and protected and privileged while you go out and do everything. That's not what you want. And you don't want that kind of attitude. Her birth mother had that attitude, and her birth father fed that, created that, enabled that. You don't want to be that enabler. In a way, crazy, being raised by the witch and withheld from, luxury and anything that where she could be selfish. There was no room for Rapunzel to learn to be selfish as a child. I know that everything was for the witch, for the witch, for the witch. I think some of us have had those sorts of mothers or fathers where you're like, okay, my job is to keep them happy, make them happy, cheer them up. Their feelings are my responsibility. And then you learn, oh, somebody cares about me. The prince cared about her. And she'd never had that before. So it meant something, and she appreciates it. So I love that story. There's a lot to be learned. I often, after I read it and write off, because I've never read it before, and then I talk to you guys about it, it processes a little bit more. And by the time the premiere happens tonight at 9, I've thought about it even more. And I'm sure I will probably actually read this one again after this video, just to, it's a lot in there probably that I didn't even think about. But what a fantastic story. Cheers to the person who wanted me to read it. I think I remember, but I don't want to say because I don't want to get it wrong. But I appreciate you, and you're right. I should have read this one sooner. It's my favorite one. There's so much in it. And this is supposedly the one from 1812. So that's a little wild to think about. Thank you guys. We got to protect our peace. We gotta stay grounded and stay connected to who we are, made in the image of God. And no matter what is going on in our lives, that is true. It's always true. And say that as much for myself as a reminder as I do for all of you guys. I really appreciate you guys. The comments, I read them. I try to read all of them, and they're very moving. I'm touched by some of the things you guys have said about how important the chat is, and that you watch these videos. I still can't believe that people actually watch, but I do appreciate you guys, and I want you to take care of yourselves. I love you, and I will see you on the next one. Take care, okay?